Well, that's unfair to assume that you've never heard of him, I guess, as there's a lot of you who are on it and have heard of him, I'm sure. Who? We'll get to him. There are also massive matches in both England and Portugal that have potential title race implications, while we also saw Bayern continue to struggle under Niko Kovac. We'll get to all of this in Rabona TV's weekend recap, where we hit the top 5 leagues at the minimum and sprinkle in some other leagues in there for seasoning, ensuring you're up to date with everything you need to know from this weekend's fixtures, as well as throwing some spicy stats at you. I'm Adrian, by the way, and if you like this kind of thing, plus football explainer videos, player and manager bios, and much more, then consider hitting subscribe. No pressure though. Do not feel obliged. I won't be offended if this is, the content equivalent of a one-night stand kind of thing, and you don't want to get into a relationship with me. It's cool. I get it. Okay, we'll start in Italy this time. Juve went away to Udinese and Scufei, their keeper, who made some unreal saves on the day. Bentancur, however, continued to make the most of his opportunities in the Juve midfield and headed home across from João Cancelo in the 33rd minute to make it 1-0. Cancelo has looked sharp for Juventus, by the way. I hope he becomes the starter for Portugal ahead of Cedric. Also, he's completed more dribbles in the Serie A this season than anyone else. A couple minutes later, and Scufei was at it again, making a ridiculous save from Mandzukic from point blank. But 1 minute after that, there is nothing he could do to save a perfectly struck attempt by Cristiano Ronaldo. 2-0, and that was the final, as Scufei was easily the man of the match despite the loss. It could have been 6 or 7-0 if it weren't for him. Juve remained perfect, 8 wins from 8. Speaking of remaining perfect, people have got to start talking about Krzysztof Piątek, as this guy can't stop scoring. With his first touch on the match against Parma, his flicked header creeped over the line. That means that Piątek has scored 9 goals in his opening 7 matches for Genoa. Add to the fact that he scored 4 in the Coppa Italia against Lecce, and that means he's scored 13 goals in 8 matches so far this season. 8 matches and counting. Genoa did end up losing to Parma, however, as the newly promoted side, that's Parma by the way, in case you don't follow the Serie A closely, has won 4 of their last 5 matches and currently are contending for the top 4. In fact, they're just 1 point behind Roma, who have truly turned their form around as of late, as they went away to lowly Empoli and gave them a smack, with Edin Dzeko coming up with the goods once again, as he took his tally to 4 goals in his last 2 matches. He's finally starting to get up and running this season, as far as the goals go. To be fair though, Roma in general are finally starting to get up and running. Another team that's finally up and running, I'm going to stop saying up and running now, AC Milan, as they defeated Chievo 3-1 at the weekend, with Gonzo Higuain scoring a brace thanks to 2 assists from Suso. That means Milan have won 3 in a row and are undefeated since their 3-2 loss to Napoli in the first match of the season. I wasn't overly convinced of Rino Gattuso's appointment as manager, but hey, I will happily eat crow if he can continue to maintain his trajectory for Milan. We shall see. Napoli built upon their midweek win over Liverpool with a 2-0 win over Sassuolo. While Sassuolo have looked fairly decent to start the season, I think they're sort of falling into their natural place in the table, as they've lost to the likes of Milan, Napoli, Juve, and Parma, and had the benefit of playing Inter while they were suffering at the beginning of this season. By the way, another goal for Insigne. That guy is insane right now. Speaking of Inter though, they went away to Spal, and despite a scare in the 72nd minute, ended up 2-1 winners thanks to a brace by Mauro Icardi. He's really starting to find his touch, and he's scored 4 in his last 3 matches for a goal involvement of 5 in that time. He's flying, as are Inter, as they've won 7 of their last 8 matches across all competitions. That's 6 wins consecutively. Okay, that is all from Italia. In Germany, Werder Bremen continued their climb up the standings as they dispatched of Wolfsburg on Friday. They're looking decent with 13 points from 7 matches. And you know who doesn't look very decent right now? And I really went in on them last week, so I'll save you from having to listen to me harping on about them again. But Bayern Munich. They were absolutely humbled in the Allianz Arena on Saturday evening by Borussia Mönchengladbach. 3-0. Ouch. That's gotta hurt. For the first time in 10 years, Bayern have conceded at home in 7 consecutive matches, and are now winless in their last 4 matches, scoring only twice in that time. From his first 7 matches, Kovac won every single game. Rough spell of form now though. Again, I'm not convinced, but there's still a ton of time for him to turn this around. Typically, Bayern losing 3-0 at home would be the headline on any other weekend in Germany, and perhaps it was the main headline in Germany. I'm obviously in Canada. But for me, as an outsider, the biggest headline had to have been the absolute classic that Borussia Dortmund played at home against Augsburg. Match of the weekend for me. Dortmund were seemingly sleepwalking throughout this match, only coming to life in the 80th minute. And did they ever come to life? So, in said 80th minute, Paco Alcácer scores the second to make it 2-2. 4 minutes later, Mario Götze finishes cleanly, making it 3-2. Just 3 minutes after that, however, Augsburg's Gregoritsch makes it 3-3. Game over, right? Well, no, in the 96th minute...
It's Alcácer going for goal!
Insane. Hat-trick for Alcácer, who becomes just the second player in Bundesliga history to score 6 goals in his first 3 matches. Madness, man. And with that, Dortmund extended their lead at the top of the table to 3 points, but they're still yet to lose a match. There's a bunch of teams on 14 points though, including Rasenballsport Leipzig. I just like saying that, RB Leipzig. Ligue 1 and Lille continued their sparkling start to the season as they got their 6th win from 9 matches thus far against the then 3rd place Saint-Étienne, 3-1. Let's hope that Lille can continue this form, but I don't know, man. Even if they do, you never get the feeling that these French teams that have a good season will ever be able to hold on to their decent form and mount a consistent challenge year after year. It just doesn't seem to happen. Point in case, AS Monaco, who have continued to free fall and still haven't won a match since August 11th. That's in all competitions, by the way. Absolute disaster class from the Principality Club. This week, adding to their misery was Stade Rennais as they won 2-1. Yes, Monaco was down a man for the second half, but it still just compounds this terrible start to their season. 9 matches, 1 win, 5 losses, 6 points, 18th place. Marseille won 2-1 versus Caen, but the big match on the weekend was undoubtedly Lyon versus PSG. I personally had high hopes for this match actually, and after the first half I was super happy with what I'd seen. After Neymar put PSG ahead with a penalty in the 9th, Sidibe had been sent off in the 32nd. Okay, game on, right? Well, no, because Toussaint got himself sent off in first half stoppage time, leading me to realize that I've given up all hope on Liga to inspire any sort of competition in the league when there's a team like PSG that is just so far beyond the rest. And you're saying, what do you mean? Well, I'll tell you, because what happened? In the second half, Lyon got absolutely trounced, and Kylian Mbappe and Neymar completely took over the game, with Mbappe scoring an 8-minute hat-trick and adding a 4th for 4 goals in 13 minutes. Impressive. Great performance from him, and from them in general, as they stomp Lyon 5-0 and retain their 8-point lead at the top of the table. By the way, just to illustrate things further for you, PSG have scored a minimum of 3 goals in every single one of their matches in Liga this season. That's 32 goals from 9 matches, conceding 6 along the way. Okay, sorry, enough of Liga and Adrian's moaning. La Liga now, as times are tough in Madrid, well, at least on one side of Madrid. Remember this from my preview video? I have many doubts about Julen Lopetegui as well, as I saw him go and flounder at FC Porto, I'm a Benfiquista for the record, and win absolutely nothing, despite boasting what was the biggest budget that any other Porto manager has had the pleasure of working with at that time. At Rayo Vallecano, he had a winning percentage of 18% and was sacked after 5 months. At Porto, biggest budget in the club's history at the time, finished 2nd, was sacked in January of the following season. Well, I stand by that, man, as things have gone from bad to worse for Los Blancos, and I truly don't believe that Julen Lopetegui has any credibility at all to turn this around. What has he done in his managerial career? Anyway, this Saturday they went away to Deportivo Alavés, and despite it looking like they were heading towards a 0-0 draw as the match went on, Alavés really came into the match in the last 20 minutes or so, and in the 94th minute, a ball was headed across the face of goal, and Manu Garcia headed it into the empty goal, a stranded Thibaut Courtois. The first time since 1931 that Alavés had beaten Real Madrid at home. That makes for 4 consecutive matches in which Real Madrid haven't scored a single goal, a terrible run matched only by 5 goalless matches from 1985. On top of that, it looks like Gareth Bale is injured once again. I'm sure Lopetegui will look forward to the international break in order to get his shit sorted out a bit, as Madrid face Levante, have a chance to get back to their winning ways against Victoria Plitzen in the Champions League, and then it's El Clasico. That meant that Atletico Madrid had an opportunity to leapfrog their city rivals, and they took that opportunity on Sunday afternoon by beating a very difficult Real Betis side who, prior to this match, were unbeaten in their last 8 matches. So, would they hold on to the top, Well, that depended on what happened in the Sevilla versus Celta Vigo match and Barcelona versus Valencia. First up, Sevilla versus Celta Vigo, as the Andalusians have certainly surprised me this season with how well they have played, so credit to them. Part of the reason as to why they've been so good, the likes of Pablo Sarabia and Wissam Ben Yedder, who happened to grab a goal apiece on the day to give Sevilla the 2-1 win and take them 1 point above Atletico Madrid, meaning if Barcelona was to beat Valencia, then they would be top. Any other result, and Sevilla stays top. Well, things got off to a rocky start for Barcelona as Benfica legend Ezequiel Garay put Valencia ahead after just 2 minutes. Thankfully for them, when you have a player like Messi in your ranks, you sort of start the match 1-0 up already. And sure enough, he came to save them in the 23rd minute with a strike from 20 yards out, 1-1. But fortunately for Sevilla, it stayed that way. So, the Andalusians are heading into the international break 1 point ahead of Barcelona, who are currently winless in their last 4 La Liga matches. Yikes. Now, England. Let's talk some Premier League. Arsenal continue to really impress me, man. And it seems like people aren't wanting to believe in the quality that they have. The only 2 losses under Unai Emery came at the hands of Manchester City and Liverpool, which were unfortunately for him his first 2 matches in the Premier League. Tough start. And by the way, when I say the only 2 losses, I mean across all competitions. Since then, however, those 2 losses, they have had 8 consecutive wins across all competitions. And against Fulham this weekend, they stretched that to 9 in an emphatic fashion. After the first half ended 1-1 with goals from Schürrle and Lacazette, Arsenal came out flying in the second half. With Lacazette added again for Arsenal, who took his goal involvement to 6 in his last 5 starts, with 4 goals and 2 assists. His partner in crime, Aubameyang, had an equally effective day, coming off the bench to score a brace and grab an assist on a ridiculous Aaron Ramsey goal. That makes for a goal involvement of 7 in his last 6 matches for Aubameyang. So, 5-1 was the final, and Arsenal have a decent chance to extend their strong start against Leicester, then Sporting Clube de Portugal, more on them later, Crystal Palace, Blackpool, and then a big test against Liverpool. They're playing the 2 pools. Man City and Liverpool played to a just, well, I'll be generous and give it a mildly entertaining 0-0 draw. In this one, the most exhilarating part was Mahrez missing a penalty in the dying moments of the match. I thought it was strange that he was the one to even take it. To be honest with you, I thought it would have been David Silva or someone else, but anyways, unfortunately for City, Aguero was off the field, as you feel he probably would have buried that one for the first goal at Anfield for him. Anyways, that means that Mahrez has missed 4 of his last 6 penalties, which makes it even more bizarre to me as to why they let him take it. As far as neutrals like myself are concerned, the best possible outcome played out in that match, given that Chelsea continued their strong start under Sarri with a 3-0 win over Southampton, meaning it's all equal at the top of the table. Of course, Eden Hazard was added again as the league's top scorer took his tally to 9 across all competitions and his goal involvement to 11 in 10 appearances. Also, shout out to Giroud for the scissor assist for Ross Barkley's goal, as Barkley scored and assisted in this one. He's found a new life under Sarri. Speaking of new life, by the way, Alvaro Morata finally scored in the Prem, finishing off a build-up of 31 passes before dinking it over the onrushing McCarthy. Could this be a turning point for him after he scored the winner against Vidi midweek? Okay, so Paco Alcácer's free kick winner in the 96th minute, whatever. Aaron Ramsey's flick versus Fulham, who cares? Morata's goal following a build-up of 31 passes, boring. The real play of the weekend was made by Cardiff's Joe Ralls in the 58th minute against Tottenham. Oh my god, yes. Yes! This is the quality that you come to expect from the top flight. Absolutely legendary tackle. Tottenham came out on top as 1-0 winners, by the way, thanks to Eric Dyer in the 8th minute, but I mean, after watching that quality play by Ralls, who cares, right? And finally in England, Jose Mourinho rallied his team from 2-0 down to 3-2 winners over, well, Newcastle. Now, let's be honest, Newcastle are a pretty terrible side. I still think they will be able to stay up somehow, mostly down to Benitez, but still, the reaction from United in the second half was great. Mourinho will just be frustrated that it takes his team to be down 2-0 in order for them to play for their pride against a bottom feeder. Now, why can't they play like that more frequently? Of course, you can't expect a club to always play at that caliber, to play with a bit between their teeth for 90 minutes per match in every single match. But these moments from United are far too few and far between. That's too many fars and fews. Still though, defensively, United have even more problems as Bailly, Lindelof, Smalling, and Jones are an absolute joke, man. Like I said in the past, I swear that those guys are getting high before matches or something because they are horrendous to watch out there. Luke Shaw, he has to be the only glimmer of hope in the back, in my eyes. That's it for England, and finally, bonus league in Portugal, Braga was held to a draw against Rio Ave and had 2 men sent off in second half stoppage time. Fitting outcome to that match, honestly, as Rio Ave has had an incredible start to the season with just 1 loss from their first 7 matches. Looking strong again. Still, that draw was enough for the Arsenalistas to take the top spot while they waited out to see just what was going to happen between FC Porto and SL Benfica in O Clasico. And in that match, oof, what a match it was. And given that it's Benfica we're talking about, for the 3rd match running, we had a centre back sent off. This time, it was Lema, who did the honors of making things more difficult than they needed to be for us. I thought his second yellow was a little bit harsh, but honestly, I don't care. Because Benfica won! And Adrian's streak of trash-talking his players for them to only go on and score continues. Seferovic, who I think is pretty shit still, missed from a one-on-one situation versus Casillas in the first half. Completely blew it. But in the second, a headed through ball by Pizzi was finished off by the Swiss international, and that was the winner. So Benfica leapfrogged over everyone in front of them to reconquista first place, but only on goal difference. Following O Clasico, Sporting had the opportunity to jump over FC Porto as well, as they went away to Portimonense, who prior to this match had just 4 points. Spoiler alert, following this match, they had 7, as Sporting put out the footballing equivalent of a limp noodle performance, losing 4-2 to Portimonense. Well, opportunity not taken, I guess, as Sporting are 1 point outside of the top 4 with 1 win from their last 3 matches. To be fair, their other loss came against Braga, so Regardless, it is tight in Portugal at the moment and definitely worth keeping an eye on. And that is just about that, my friends. I appreciate you for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, then do me a favor and drop a like to let me know. Once again, if you're new and you enjoyed this thing and want to make it a regular occurrence, then you've just got to hit subscribe. But other than that, have yourself a great start to the week. Take care.